It's War Dragon time, RPW here with another video to the Beginner's Guide to War Dragon series. Now during the month of July we are going to be doing a series on bases, and I'm calling this It's All About That Base July series. Now this will be a 4-part series. This week starts with the kickoff of Back to the Basics. Then next week we will be doing using guides and planners to build a base. And then the third week of the month, we'll be doing defense towers and perches. And then last but not least, we will top it all off with ruining towers and defending bases. So hopefully this helps everybody out. So let's go ahead and get this one started, which is, like I said, called Back to the Basics. Now, basics means the very nitty-gritty. So this is definitely going to be a great video for those that are lower level players. So if you have anybody on your team that's struggling to understand the concept of building a base and, upgrading towers and so forth, be sure to share this with that team member, because I think this is going to really help out a lot. Okay, so let's go ahead and get this started. Now, jumping into the very basics of things, we want to point out that there is a home island and then there are your defense islands. Now, the home island is where you're going to be able to upgrade things like your den, your dragon castle, your incubator, your storage hut, builder's hut, and so forth. These are not something that once you get past level 4 are going to make any effect really on the amount of growth that you make as a level. So if you ever find yourself in a building event, fortification event, whatever, and you need to get points but you don't want to grow, that is a great place to upgrade, and you're not going to have to worry about growing up too much. Now, on the contrary, the defense tower areas, those islands are going to make you grow in level, but these are the areas where you really want to be careful what you build, how you build it, and so forth. So that is what we're going to be going over today, and kind of just go over the basics of the rules behind it before we go into too much detail with guides and planners. Now, the defense islands can be divided up by the perch zones. So, for example, if you'll notice, this L shape on the left-hand side is the Sea Gazer perch area. On the top, it's the Riverwatch perch, and on the bottom, the Stone Spear perch. Now, these perches, whenever you put a dragon on them and a rider, they will only boost the zones that they are in. So you'll see the Sea Gazer perch with the red shading. It only boosts that section of islands. It does not do the entire base. Now, the same goes for your monuments on your bases. So whenever you equip runes or glyphs on these monuments, I put towers, I apologize. When you put these on your monuments, they are only going to affect the islands with them. Now, the only one that actually holds down 2 islands is the very first one here at the top. It actually does the one where most people keep their food and lumber, and then the one below it. Now, the rest of them will be broke down by 1 monument per 5-spot island. So you really want to keep this in mind when you're building, especially if you're transferring things around your base and moving things around, because if, let's say, you put a dark flak rune, okay, on this Sea Gazer perch tower, this is the bottom left side here. If I would put a dark flak rune on that, and I get it all the way to legendary, completely experted it out, and then I have my dark flak on that island, then I'm going to have to pay rubies in order to move that rune along with that flak tower. So you really want to think about that when it comes to setting up the design of your base and changing it up, because there will be runes that you don't want to lose or glyphs that you can't afford to move. So be sure to keep that in mind. Alright, so an overall base power is not the same as an island power. And a lot of you are probably wondering what in the world I'm saying and how is this possible. Now, I'm going to go through this with you. But if you've ever noticed, when you go to attack someone, let's say your dragon has a defense of 2 million and their base is only 2 million, and you take it out, but then you go to another base with the same defense power, but you lose. Well, that's because one base may have been shorter and more concentrated than the other base. So let's go ahead and look at a base that is spread out thin. Now, with this particular base setup, you're going to notice that all these towers are level 20. Now, mage towers, including blue mage towers, do not have any kind of attack power. They do have special attack, but we're going to go over just the basic attacks within this island really quickly. Now, the first thing you're going to notice is that the archer tower is only worth 30,000 points at a level 20, where dark flak is worth 135k and the ice flak is worth about 125k. Now, these attack powers are not exact, they're just a estimate, a roundup. They are very similar in sizing, but I thought I'd make my math a little bit easier. Okay, so if that's being said, then you really got to think about the fact that you've got all these towers there that equals up to quite a bit, right? Okay, great. You have all these level 20s multiplied by 7 each, which gives you a total base attack power of 2 million. That seems pretty powerful, right? Well, let's go ahead and bring a dragon in that is going to be worth, or I'm sorry, that has the same equal attack power of 2 million. Now, you would assume that it would be a pretty equal match. However, one of the islands alone, its attack power is only 290,000. So a dragon with 2 million attack power, and maybe not even that high in health, but let's say his health is at 1 million, he's not going to struggle to get through your island. Now, with some super shots and some defenders, this isn't always the case. You might have some, luck there. However, this dragon's not going to have a general issue on a base of this size. So what happens if all the towers are level 41s, but you don't build completely out? Now, each of these towers are going to be worth quite a bit compared to the contrast of if they were only level 20s. However, you probably have spent the same amount of elemental embers in this case than you would have building 7 of these at a level 20, if not less. Now, it does seem like there would be less, but if you look at this at 2 times 1 equals 1.5 million, 2 times the dark flak equals 2.8 million, and then 2 times the archer tower is 2 million. This is going to give you a total attack of 6.3 million, and you've built way less stuff. Now, this is also a single island power of 2.7 million. Now, comparing that with this dragon at 2 million, he's going to struggle because his health is maybe 1.8. So when he's going up against this 2.7 million, one single island defense power, he's really going to struggle compared to what we mentioned before. Now, if you remember, that was only 290,000 on one island. Now, this isn't including any kind of runes or anything that you might have on your perch. But compared to 2.7 million, where somebody built up and not out, is a huge, huge difference on your defense power. That brings me to another thought. There are going to be times you're going to have dragons come in with a certain resist. And all too often, I go out and I attack a base where an island is filled with the same towers. Now, I get it. If you put multiple lightning towers together, they become more powerful. However, let's say you've done that. 5 times level 31 towers equals at about 500,000, maybe a little more, in attack power or defense power. Now, if I bring in a dragon that has this resist, however, I'm going to be able to subtract 70% of that total attack because I'm going to resist it, which means your one island is only going to be boosting out 150,000. So you really have to keep in mind when you build your base not to keep a lot of like towers on the same islands. So let's just go ahead and jump into the game here, and we'll look at my island and maybe go find a few other random islands to look at. Now, as I mentioned before, this is your home island. These are the areas that you need to constantly upgrade. Without doing this, you're going to find that you're going to come to standstills, not only in building your bases, but also when it comes to upgrading your dragons or even breeding them. Now, if you'll notice, I'm still waiting for my 2 other sapphire eggs so that I can upgrade the builder's hut. Now, this is a very important thing to keep up with. And as you'll see, not only is it important to kind of keep your things leveled up, but also to keep up things like your farms, over here and your lumber mills. Now you're going to be stuck at certain levels and not going to be able to increase the amount of productivity of them until you've upgraded them. So if you'll notice here, for example, I am stuck at level 41 because I need to take my builder's hut to level 26 before I can unlock it. I'm so sorry about the birds, guys. Everybody's upstairs, so I can't do anything the video upstairs right now. Okay, so moving on, I want to talk about the setup of different bases. So we're going to go ahead and go in and look at a few random bases. Now, if you'll notice, the very first part of this guy's island, he has trebuchets. Now, these trebuchets are very low level. He's a 114. These should go. Anything that you may have on your base that's under a level 20, you should just store it away. It is basically ridiculous to have. Now, on this island, he is a nice short island. However, if I was to say anything for this guy to change, I would move my blue mage towers back, because all someone has to do is take that out and then they can use their blue spells against your island. So that is one little tip for your blue mage towers. Now, other thing that I can mention here is his red mage actually does better in the center, and this cannon is not doing anything for his base. Alright, so the next guy here is, he's got quite a few things going on here, including, I would say this Sea Gazer perch is really a huge mistake. He's got a level 29 perch there. He really needs to bring over his stronger items to that island and shorten his base. I would completely get rid of anything that's on that one and the further one and move everything over. Okay, let's go ahead and go down to something a little larger. Now, if you'll notice this orange, like kidney bean shape, this is showing you that that perch only boosts that specific part of the islands. Now, that is a very important thing to know, most definitely. Now, again, you'll notice he has a few areas where his blue mage tower and his red mage towers are in the front. It's best to either keep those in the back or put your red mage in the center, because your red mage is going to put a shield of protection over all of them as long as it's in the center. Now, I personally keep mine to the back, but that is a personal choice. I do want to mention also on this specific island that he has a very decent island in the sense that he has them all pretty equal in level, but the problem is, like for example here on the Sea Gazer perch, he only has a level 22 electroflack. Now that's probably because he's working on it. However, he would really be better off to move another flak into that island to really get the full potential. I personally put mine with a ice flak and a fire flak, and it helps tremendously. It really boosted up my base quite a bit. If you'll notice, I'm at 83.5 million, and I'm telling you guys, if you have not got Tannock, he is completely worth it. Now, I don't know if, if you're an Atlas player and you have plenty of defense riders, it may not be worth it, but if you're like me and you're just in a regular, leagues and playing events, take advantage of Tannock. Trust me, it is totally worth it. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to the next thing, which is your farms and lumber mills. Whenever they are all bulked up on one island, they will actually help rebuild each other, and it's actually harder to take them out. Now, I have seen where people will bring them out and put one here, one there throughout. Now, that used to be a theory that people would play because it would help rebuild other islands on other bases. However, this is no longer a thing. Along with the lightning tower, which we went over earlier, people like to put a bunch of lightning towers in one area. However, the resist, if someone has resist and you've got all of these there, it's basically an obsolete idea. So remember that building base guides and so forth are actually ever changing, and that there's more than one way to do things. So you don't have to do it exactly how I do, or how Odin does, or how any of the guides put it out there. You might even be able to find a new way. I know I have. A lot of people want, to tell me that I need a mage draining island. Now, these are my mage draining island right here. These are the mages I use. However, this used to be my kill island. But I've made this my mage draining island because of all the changes that's happened over the last few weeks. And then once they get to this back area in the back zone, thanks to, my new rider and everything, it is now my kill island. Now, the rider is most definitely worth it, and you should definitely be upgrading your Sea Gazer perch if that's what the L zone you're in. But this is now my kill island, and it makes a huge difference for my base. So that's why I don't have an extra area to drain people. Now remember, whenever you set up your runes, to make sure that they match those on your particular islands, otherwise they're just worth the rune dust. But we will be going over that a little bit later in another part of this series. Now that is pretty much it for today's video. I don't want to keep you guys forever and bore you all, but this is the basics, back to the basics basically. Anyways, now my final thoughts on building a base, the basic part of it is get to know what island towers are out there and save back. I know that there's a lot of people that want to, make good points in the fortification. So instead of waiting and filling up on more elemental embers, they just go ahead and build a whole new elemental tower. And that is a grave mistake. You don't want to waste those because they do add up eventually, and you can utilize those to your advantage. All right, guys, so next week, be sure to join me again because we're going to be going over using guides and planners. Now, these are found online. There's a bunch of different ones. I'm going to be looking into all of them so I can get an idea of what each of them consist of, and I will show you exactly how to use those websites. Now, later today, we will be actually doing our drawing with the winner announcement for Talk Dragon Tuesday, so be sure, if you haven't already, to get into this week's video of Talk Dragon Tuesday and enter for a chance to win that $20 in-game pack. All right, guys, so that is it for today's video. And again, I'm sorry for all the bird chatter, but if you like today's video, be sure to leave me a big thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and hit that bell for notifications. Until next time, happy hunting!